Welcome to The Explainer. The story we're diving into today, honestly, it's something that almost defies belief. It's about a man who found himself at the absolute heart of the atomic age, not once, but twice, and somehow lived to tell the tale. So these are the words of Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the only person officially recognized by the Japanese government as a survivor of both the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombs. He truly came to believe that his life was spared for one very specific, very crucial reason: to bear witness to what he saw. All right, so to really understand this unbelievable journey, we have to go back in time. We're talking the summer of 1945, right in the middle of the final, desperate days of World War II. You see, Yamaguchi was a family man. He was deeply, deeply troubled by the war. He's stationed over in Hiroshima for this 3-month business trip, and honestly, he was just incredibly anxious to get back home to Nagasaki, back to his wife and their infant son. So get this, he was literally on his way to the train station with his colleagues to finally head home. But then he realizes, shoot, he's forgotten something. And as he turns back to his office to grab it, this tiny little act of forgetfulness, well, it's about to place him directly in the path of an event that would change the world forever. Okay, before we go any further, there's a really important term we need to understand to grasp what comes next, and that's hibakusha. For these survivors, it wasn't just about surviving the blast itself. They would face a whole lifetime of challenges: physical, emotional, even social ones. Everything from radiation-related illnesses to discrimination from people who were afraid their exposure was somehow contagious. So what happened next? I mean, it is just almost beyond belief. It's a journey into the very heart of the atomic age, and not just once, but twice. Okay, so he's just 3 kilometers from ground zero. He looks up, sees the B-29, sees this small object drop, and then this blinding flash of light. He had just enough time, barely, to dive into a nearby ditch. The blast, it completely ruptured his eardrums, left him temporarily blind, and gave him these horrific burns all across the left side of his body. But somehow, he was alive. The next morning, he had to make his way through what was left of the city, and the sights, they were just apocalyptic. To cross a river where all the bridges had been completely vaporized, he had to literally push his way through a floating mass of dead bodies. I mean, can you even imagine? That's an image that would haunt him for the rest of his life. And yet, incredibly, he manages to board a train. It's filled with other burned, shell-shock survivors, and he makes that long, agonizing journey home to Nagasaki. And then, and this just blows my mind, despite his horrific injuries, with his body literally wrapped in bandages, he reports for work on the morning of August 9th. The disbelief he was met with was just staggering. He's in his office trying to explain this unimaginable destruction he just witnessed. He's telling his boss how one single bomb had leveled an entire city. And his supervisor? He's completely skeptical, basically calling him crazy. And it was right at that exact moment, it happened again. 11:02 a.m. Another blinding white flash just fills the room. The Fat Man bomb had just detonated over Nagasaki. And once again, unbelievably, Yamaguchi was just 3 kilometers from ground zero. In that one terrifying second, he said he thought the mushroom cloud had literally followed him home. You know, surviving the blasts, surviving what was basically hell on earth twice, that was really only the beginning. Now a whole new, silent struggle was about to begin, against an enemy he couldn't even see. His body began this long, grueling war against acute radiation poisoning. For an entire week, he was hovering near death with a high fever. His hair fell out, his wounds became gangrenous, and for the rest of his long life, he battled all sorts of radiation-related ailments. And so did his wife and children, who they were convinced had also suffered from his exposure. But here's something you might not expect. Despite having this unique, unbelievable story, Yamaguchi didn't talk about it. Not for decades. He actually felt it would be unfair to people who were really sick. And his family, they were worried his story might accidentally downplay the true horror of the bombs, because he looked relatively healthy. But in his final years, a really devastating personal tragedy would completely transform those decades of silence into a powerful global mission. The death of his son, that was the catalyst. You see, Katsutoshi had been just a baby when the bomb fell on Nagasaki, and losing him, Well, it convinced Yamaguchi that he just couldn't stay silent anymore. He felt he had a duty, a real duty, to speak out for the sake of all the future generations. I mean, his story was already one of a kind, but in March of 2009, it became official. While it's estimated that maybe around 165 people survived both attacks, Tsutomu Yamaguchi became the only person ever officially recognized by the Japanese government as a Niju Habakusha, a double survivor. So with this official recognition, he finally had the platform he felt he needed. He started writing books and poetry, he took part in documentaries, and then, at 90 years old, he traveled all the way to New York to deliver this incredibly powerful plea for nuclear disarmament right before the United Nations. When you look at it, his life was just this extraordinary arc, from an engineer to a double survivor, from decades of quiet endurance to becoming this global advocate for peace. He passed away in 2010 at the age of 93, and his life really is a testament to both the terrifying power of these weapons and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. This quote, I think, really gets to the very heart of his message. For him, it wasn't just about the physical destruction. It was about what these weapons do to the very dignity of human beings. He truly came to see his entire post-war life as a bonus, a second chance that he was given not for himself, but to deliver this crucial warning to the rest of the world. So, Yamaguchi's life leaves us with this really lingering question, doesn't it? His story isn't just history, it's a living message, and it's one that challenges every single one of us to confront the real human cost of these weapons. He was spared to deliver a warning. The only question is, are we listening?